Welcome back to the Centre Half Bench podcast. It's been a disappointing week in terms of finals. There's been plenty of blowout games. However, there is post-season news emerging for every team, especially Collingwood and St Kilda, now that they have exited finals. Anyway, enough talking. Let's rip into it.
Yeah, so obviously we're going to start off with the thing we usually start off with. That's big stories. So big stories, basically, we just talk about everything new in the footy world that's been going on and controversies, trade rumours, and just little things here and there. So the first one I'm going to start off with the Goey trade rumours. There's teams like Carlton and Essendon have been looking into him, but today we were confirmed that Carlton aren't interested anymore, so we can cut that. But that meaning now Bombers are the front runners to gain his signature if he were to leave the Pies. But I don't see him leaving. But is it because he's too selfish and wants more midfield time, or is he just looking for a way out of Collingwood? It'll definitely be interesting to see how this plays out, especially with him having a massive off.
Yeah, and speaking of Collingwood, you've got Travis Varco, a dual premiership player for Geelong, 92 games with Collingwood, 230 for his career. What an amazing career he's had. In that 2018 finals, he was inspired, especially after his sister sadly passing away during her local football grand final. He was inspired, and he inspired the Collingwood Army. And yeah, personally, I'll remember him for that. But yeah, the Geelong supporters will remember him for those 2009, 2011 grand finals. But and on a more serious note, Tom Lynch has been fined $750 for another incident involving him. Not necessarily suspension worthy, but just a bad look for the game and something they're trying to stamp out. And obviously, it's his fifth offence this year, so bit of a sketchy mark over him. But yeah, on to the first final for this week, Sasha. How'd you see it?
To be honest, it wasn't really a good game, but both these games weren't really good. It's a Tigers versus Saints game. Tigers 12 goals 880 versus the Saints 6 goals 1349. Tigers coming out by 39-point winners. The game looked definitely closer on paper. The Saints' inaccuracy definitely cost them with having 1+ more scoring shots than the Tigers, and they still went down 23 points going into quarter time. The game definitely should have been closer than what it was because it was just a terrible performance from.
Yeah, and a close call, not to do with the game, was the arc touch decision. Obviously, the arcs, no one's a fan of it really. There was an incident where Vlaston, he went to punch the ball rather than touch it, and it looked like it completely missed his hand and went over the line. However, the arc said there was insufficient evidence to overturn it, so it ended up being a point rather than a goal. And even though Vlaston admitted he touched it, it did look a bit sketchy.
Yeah. Another player that not another player, sorry. Edit that shit out. Shea Bolton having a massive game, huge 3 goals, 11 touches, and he came to perform. But Tom Lynch, he played very well. I think he had 17 touches, 9 score involvements, yet 2 goals 5, which is just terrible, especially from your big key forward. That if those 2 points, like if 2 of those points were goals, we're looking at 4 goals, 3, and a completely different game with a possible bigger scoreline than what it turned out to be.
Yeah, and another big man, Big Marshall, obviously Ryder out through injury. He stood up 16 touches, 2 clearances, 20 hit-outs. However, he was still slightly less of a performance than Nankervis, who had 14 touches, 4 clearances, and 15 hit-outs. So, great game by the two of them.
Yeah, definitely. And it shows how much the Saints actually rely on that duo ruckman combination where one will go down forward and make a big marking target while the other one will go on the ruck. And they didn't have that accessibility to do that this game due to the Paddy Ryder injury.
Yep, and the next game we won't like to talk about it, the Cats Pies. Cats winning by 68 points. It was a complete domination by the Cats. Probably the most one-sided game there is. Danger and Hawkins were both huge with 4 goals each. Danger having 19 touches, Hawkins 17. Incredible performance from the Cats, but The Pies, they had 12 players under 10 touches compared to Geelong's 2. So that really signifies we barely got the ball.
Yeah, and like obviously when you look at the stats, Pies leading the tackle count, but that's obvious. When you're going to be second to the ball, you got to be able to tackle. But it was just a terrible game. The Geelong won the disposals by 150 touches. That shouldn't be happening, especially in a finals game. They got 13 more clearances than us, and then the midfield absolutely dominated that Pies midfield of Treloar, Grundy, and Taylor Adams. Also, speaking of Taylor Adams, it looks like he's broken his wrist or done something to that elbow, because that was a massive hit, elbow injury.
It was an elbow injury in the post Collingwood put up, signifying the end of the season. He was wearing an elbow brace similar to that of Will Kelly.
Yeah, I saw that. He'll definitely be back for next year, and but his preseason might have to start a little bit later than what you'd think.
Yeah, and the Pies looked shot. They looked like they had nothing left to give. You could say their grand final was last week. They were pretty cooked this week, but Adams and Elliott were most influential, and they did look very good in a team that was down.
Yeah, definitely. And when your star player, your captain and leader Scott Pendlebury is down and not playing that well, it just shows that the level of dominance the Cats had was crazy, because one of the best players in the competition has just completely fallen off the face of the game, which is a bit of a shame for him being such a star player.
Yep. Anyway, I think it's time for Footy Stocks. If you're new to our channel, Footy Stocks is our main segment. We basically say something we like the look of this week, something we didn't like the look of, and something we want to hold on to. Basically, we want to buy into something we liked, sell something we didn't, and then hold on to something we're not sure of. So on that note, Sasha, what are you buying into?
I'm buying into there's going to be a big off-season for the Pies. I think massive changes are about to come, whether it's coming to the front office, the players, the coaching staff, just everything around it. There's going to be massive changes, and I think the Pies are maybe have a finals window, but not a premiership window anymore. But it's going to be between that 8th to 5th spot, I believe so.
Yep. For me, I'm buying in the Saints 2021 season. They played fast, good footy in a game that they could have won, probably should have been closer. They've got good footy brand, and they'll get some stars back into their team and obviously build over the off season. And yeah, they'll launch into 2021.
And Brett Ratton's also a great coach as well. And to top that off, for me, for selling, well, this is another Collingwood related thing, but the whole Collingwood performance as a whole was just terrible. I want to sell that. As a Pies fan, as anything related to, like, any person related to the footy club, would not want to see that again. And I think, Jai, you could agree on that as well.
Yeah, I don't know. For me, it could go one or two ways, that loss. It could be an Adelaide type of rebuild, and complete, everyone wants to leave, or it could be it could galvanise the group, but it'll be interesting.
They've definitely come back from bigger losses and get bounced back. That 2018 grand final, that pumping against West Coast. But stuff like this happens in footy. You don't like to see it if you're a fan of the club, but you just gotta build up, and you can't give up on stuff like that.
Yep, and for me, I'm selling something similar. I too am selling the Pies performance. When you look at it, in the first 3 quarters, they had 1 goal, and that goal was lucky. Elliott got it out of a pack and snapped it from nowhere and kicked the goal. It was a lucky game. Sorry, lucky goal, not a lucky game. We could have easily been goalless at 3 quarters time, and it was a tough year. I reckon we just need to go on to the next.
Yeah. For me, I want to hold on to the Tigers making another grand final. I don't think it will happen, but I'll still hold it just to see if there is that extra step that they can get. But it's going to be hard to beat Port Adelaide in Adelaide, I reckon.
Yeah, just like you, I'm holding on to a Melbourne team. I'm holding on to Geelong's finals hopes. After that, what they brought last week, if they bring that next week, it'll be close, but it'll be a challenge for them.
It's definitely going to be hard to beat Brisbane over at the Gabba. Like I don't think any team's done it all year, if I'm correct.
There probably has been one or two, but just can't think of the top of our head.
Yeah.
Anyway, that's it. That's it for Footy Stocks. Hope you enjoyed it. If you did, let us know down below. Any other ideas you have for segments, let us know. But I think it's time for the prelim final preview. Sasha, let's get into it.
All right, so first game is Port Adelaide versus Tigers, Friday, October 16th at Adelaide Oval at 7:15 p.m. It's going to be a massive game. It's going to be huge. Possibly another game of the year contender. But Jai, who do you think is going to win it?
For me, I have Power winning. Obviously, that home ground advantage is huge, and the crowd basically helping them, providing the same effect as an extra player on the ground. They say the crowd's a 19th man, and I believe that'll really help them, and I see them winning.
Yeah, for me, I also got Port Adelaide winning it. Like you're saying, with the home ground advantage coming into play in the format they've been in all year, it just looks really hard to beat Port Adelaide currently. But it's definitely going to be an interesting game.
Yeah, and for Port to win, they need to use that hostile crowd. Once again, they need to play on the edge like the Tigers and use that against them, and the crowd will erupt with that. With all due respect, the Port Adelaide crowd are mongrels and they love that hard football. But for the Tigers, they need to bring that fast, hard finals brand that we know of and that we know stands up, and they need to ride the wave of the hostile crowd, and they just need to ride it and use it as motivation to upset that crowd.
100% agree with you. For me, Port Adelaide need to utilise their key players. So your Charlie Dixons, your Travis Boakes, Ollie Wines, Scott Lysett. I think he's got to have a big game in the ruck. And they just need to use that hard brand of footy that's built for finals and just pure intensity at the footy. You can't go at any contest half-hearted, especially when it's prelim finals. For the Tigers, I think they've got to show off their experience in the finals time, and they have to outgrunt Port Adelaide. I don't think any team has done that all year, and it's definitely going to be a challenge with for the Tigers. But if they can get that, I think it's going to be a lot closer than what it already is going to be.
Yeah, and for Port to win, they need Dixon to stand up for the first time in weeks. He's been quiet for ages, hasn't stood up yet in that one final. And yeah, he needs to stand up. But that Port midfield too need a fire. They need to play hard football and not scare, Richmond won't get scared, but they need to really put it up to Richmond and put them on the back foot and get that crowd behind them. And Richmond, if they do that, will eventually collapse. However, the Tigers similarly need Lynch to reproduce his performance last week. Probably kick a bit straighter, it will help. But yeah, they need Lynch to perform and Bolton to step up because the mids will be soft tagged by the Port Adelaide midfields.
Yeah. For Port Adelaide, I got Travis Boak need to step up. He's the leader of that midfield. He's got to show the boys how to play, and he's just got to show them and present himself as that leader, which he has been doing throughout his whole career. For the Tigers, I've got an obvious player, Dustin Martin. What else can you expect? He needs to step up and show how good he really is when it comes to finals time, because we know he's a very, very good player, and he just got to show why he is the player he is.
Yeah, and for me, my final verdict, I've got Port winning by 2. The crowd is basically an extra man, and it will will them over the line against a classy Tigers outfit.
Yeah. I've got Port Adelaide winning by 14 points. Home crowd and that brand of footy is going to kill the Tigers, I believe so.
Yeah, and on to the next prelim that will set them up against the winner of that first prelim, Lions versus Cats. The Gabba at 7:40 p.m. on Saturday. For me, I've got the Lions winning because obviously it's a Gabba. They're too good at home, and even though the Cats are coming off a huge win, I don't think it's enough.
Yeah, I'm going to have to agree with you on that, Joe. I got the Lions winning it as well. Like you said, too good at home, and I think their brand of footy is going to break the lines of that aging Cats outfit who like to play kick mark, and break through the middle. But it'll definitely be interesting to watch how these two teams go at each other.
Yep. And for the Lions to win, they need to play, obviously, you mentioned it, that controlling game style that they used against the Tigers, and it helped break that, the defense of the Tigers. That is so good. They need to replicate that against the Cats to have a hope. Whereas the Cats, they need to replicate last week's domination in the mid and pretty much everywhere, but against a better team. In Lions, if they do that, they could win by 1 to 4 goals.
For me, what the Lions have to do, I think this week they can't play that stop-start footy. I think they've got to play fast and that running game that has won them games this year. And they just got to put the ball in good spots for their forwards to mark it. But their forwards have to kick accurately. This is a game where if you kick inaccurately, it can literally make or break your season. For the Cats, they've got to play the way they did last week. I think pretty self-explanatory. Like you said, Jai, that passing game that breaks down teams, that kills off a lot of energy due to them making the ground as big as possible and just causing players to run. Jai, who do you think's got a fire?
For me, Harris Andrews needs to step up and basically deny Hawkins from having any type of impact. If he does that, it'll go a long way to winning the game. Whereas Neil, he too needs to step up and either beat Danger one-on-one, or they need Daniel Rich to tag Danger. A player like Daniel Rich could work, but I'm just thinking of Daniel Rich. But yeah, they need to limit Hawkins and Danger, who are their two big blokes in the win against Collingwood. Whereas the Cats, they need to get Danger and Hawks to repeat what they did last week with another appearance of the old school Ablett we saw in the first half. Obviously, his possible last game last week was too. He needs to step up and, bring that old school Ablett.
Yeah, for me, I got the Lions. Lions player that as ever is Hugh McCluggage. He's obviously on the wing, and playing on the wing, he's most likely going on to Sam Menegola. Menegola having an all-Australian type season. I'm pretty sure he made the 40-man squad, if I'm correct. But Menegola's one of the fittest players in the league. He can kick on his right, kick on his left. He's a very complete player. And for Hugh McCluggage at such a young age to go on and play against him, I reckon he's going to have a massive, massive performance. For the Cats, you got to get Tom Hawkins available, like you were saying, and he's going to need an absolute massive game. And if Harris Andrews can't stop him, it's going to be very, very hard and a very long night for that Lions back line, because when he's firing, he's a top 3 forward in the competition, I believe.
Yeah. And for me, I've got the Lions winning by 22. I think the Cats will be unable to replicate last week because it was just simply like nothing could go wrong. Whereas the Lions, they're too strong a team, especially at home. And they work well as a team, unlike Geelong, who sometimes rely on a few stars.
Yeah, for me, I got the Lions by 15. The Lions are too good at home. They're obviously coming off that 2-week break, which is absolutely going to be massive for them. And I think it's going to help push the boys to victory. And the crowd's going to become absolutely massive for them, especially in those dying moments where the game is close, if it is. But anyways, thanks everyone for listening. Hope you enjoyed this week's episode and the previews we have added to the podcast. We think it's a really good idea, but let us know so we can edit and build around what you guys enjoy. Make sure to like, subscribe, follow us on our socials, Instagram, TikTok, all that stuff. Tell your friends and tell your family about us to help us grow. And peace in the Middle East. Have a good one, guys.
Audio Jungle.